Everyone, and welcome to Fathoms Deep, a Black Sails podcast from Common Room Radio. I am Liz Stevens.
And I'm Daphne Olive.
How are you doing, Daphne? Do you like this show? I heard you might like this episode.
I kind of like this episode a little bit. I'm going to do my best to stay a thinking, person and not just freak out with joy.
I'm going to give you 100% permission to fangirl all you want. Just be excited.
I'm pretty excited.
Love what you love. Yeah, I'm excited to hear your excitement. It's going to be great.
Yes, I love this episode. Well, there's one moment in this episode, which we will get to, which is in fact my favorite moment in all of television ever.
What?
And I am not joking. So
Those
here
are
I
big
am,
words.
right up front.
Okay.
I already know. This week, I know what my favorite thing is, and
that's interesting. Okay, but because one of mine is too. One of my favorite moments is in here too. I wonder if they're the same.
Ooh, they might be. Oh, well, now I'm really curious. Okay, so now we're both really excited because we want to know what the other person's favorite thing is.
Absolutely,
okay.
Yeah.
Yay. Yes, this is actually an episode that I, from the minute we started doing this, I was like, wow, I get to talk about this moment. I'm so excited. Mm-hmm. And, not just to the people around me who were like, okay, already, we know you like that. This week, we start with Billy.
Billy washes up on the sand.
I know. Okay, but let's go through our parts and then we'll talk about Billy. But yes, super exciting.
All right.
Okay, sorry. I shouldn't have started with that because it's hard not to talk about it. So our parts this week are on our Spanish Man of War, which is now ours.
Yes, and it is beautiful.
Oh, it is.
Fucking beautiful, if I may say so. I mean,
you may. It is the fucking Man of War that
it is.
was talking about last week.
Did you notice that they took that out during the little, in the beginning when they were previously on? They cut the fucking, and I was like, that's interesting.
I didn't notice that. That's
weird
so
because
interesting.
I was like, you're about to watch a show where every other word is the F word. Why would you cut it out just for this one little teaser? So
maybe they need.
Anyway,
I don't know. Maybe they need to be more PG during. I have no idea.
I can't imagine why, but I don't know. There's probably some rule before the credits, you can't say whatever. I don't know. So just in case somebody's kids are in the room and they haven't seen the little warning that comes up that says language.
Right. Well, for Black Sails, the million warnings that come
language
up before
and nudity and
and everything, everything we have to warn you about, we will warn you about now.
Things. Yeah.
So we have the Spanish Man of War / some more of 1705 London, and really good stuff as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, so good.
And then in Nassau, it's pretty simple. We have a lot of really serious stuff going down at Eleanor's Tavern, and also some serious stuff going down at the brothel. And that's our
some
parts.
Serious stuff, I would say so. Yeah.
It's everyone's got a lot going on this episode. It is a great episode.
It is a great episode. It's packed.
So I now that I said the parts, now let's talk about Billy and Hume. I thought we'll just talk about that because it's not really a character thing, even though it's a character that we are so happy to have back. And then before we get into the characters, let's just talk about that moment. Other than, I wish I remembered the feeling. How did you feel when you saw Billy?
Well,
I know that you knew
I remember
he
being
wasn't
irritated
dead.
that it was so late that we had, because I was irritated that we went, I think, 2 episodes without him, if I'm not mistaken, right? Did we lose him in 7?
No, we lost him in 6. Because I think 7.
See,
7
that's a
is
lot
when,
of episodes.
Right. 7 was when Gates was upset about it, and before they went to go take the Urca gold.
Yeah. See, that was too long.
8, yeah. Oh,
to
that's
me,
interesting.
I was like, you should have done this earlier. We all know he's not dead. I felt like you were stringing me along. It made me distrust the show because I was like, what is this? Is it about it? Are these my Treasure Island characters or are they not? So it took too long. So when I saw him, I was like, I don't know. I had mixed feelings, I guess. I was relieved to see him again, but I was also irritated that it took us so long to get to him again.
Wow, to be perfectly honest, I do not remember my experience the first time I saw him back. I mean,
well,
other
it was
than
dramatic.
Yeah, other than like, oh my God, what are you doing to my Billy Bones?
Right.
I'm really upset.
No kidding.
So, and I'm
Day
pretty sure
5.
this is Hume. I mean, this is
I'm
our
so glad
Scarborough.
you said that. That didn't occur to me.
Yes,
did he say his name?
He didn't, and I meant to recheck. I actually found a website with transcripts. I meant to recheck, but I didn't. But I'm almost positive. Like, we've seen Hume up until now with a wig on.
You know what else you're positive about, Daphne?
Yeah, I know.
But okay,
right.
I'm gonna. But
this is it. I will be living this down forever, and
it's true.
And
I'm just gonna call you stuff all the time. Did you look it up, Daphne? Did you look it up?
This is why I go look stuff up now, but I didn't. So whatever.
Okay.
It is Hume or
So
some
Hume.
other officer of the Navy, but I think it's Hume. And
Okay.
My point is, like, one, oh my God, what a horrible way to torture someone. Like, it's bad enough to torture someone by like tying them down on a beach in the sun without water or food or shade. So that's already pretty unbelievably horrible. But this little leather torture device outfit thing is just so horrible.
Oh, is that what it is? I thought he was just wearing it. Like that was his vest
he was
that he
wearing
was
it. But the point was, I mean, he explained it, Hume or
right,
officer.
okay. But you're not saying that they actually physically put him into it, that he was already wearing it.
Oh, no. They put him in that thing. This is a torture device. And the whole point of it is that he explained. The whole point of this leather outfit is that
it's to slowly constrict you.
Right. That it'll shrink and shrink and shrink until your until your ribs pierce your. Yes, he explained it. He's like, oh, I learned this from a Spanish bishop.
See, I thought he was just like, I thought that when Billy had gone overboard, he must have been wearing a leather vest, and the guy was like, oh, if we just leave him out here, then it'll tighten up. I learned that from the Spanish guy. Now that they actually physically put him in it.
Oh, yeah. This was, I mean, it sounds like, they tried to get Billy to work with them. He said no, and they're like, oh, okay, we'll just put you in leather torture device, and it'll shrink, and you will die. And yeah, it's pretty horrible.
That
and
upped the ante. Wow.
What I have to say about this in the themes of our show is, who's the monster here? I'm not even gonna I'm just gonna be bold about it. I'm not even gonna be coy about bringing up this topic.
Of course, yeah. Billy would never.
Exactly. Billy would
Pirate
never.
Or no.
Right.
Okay.
So that was all I had to say about that, other than
just to chat that up. I agree.
Like, Billy, I'm happy you're back. Billy, I'm so sorry you're going through this, and it's pretty clear who's the monster in this storyline.
Man,
I know.
Good call.
I know. It's pretty intense. It's interesting. Like, we see so much like really, really brutal violence, but this was just really hard for me to watch because you can kind of feel it. It's just horrible.
Yeah,
it's just horrible.
It is horrible. Wow.
Yep. Yes. So we'll see where that storyline takes us with Billy. But we won't talk about that now because that was all we got of him for this episode.
Yep.
Yep.
Prepare to board. Aye.
And our clip here comes from this episode, which I didn't realize. And it kind of broke my heart because why the hell do we have Dufresne saying prepare to board?
I know.
That's on you, Daphne. You found the clips.
No, it is on me. And, well, it's on both of us because you wanted the clip. You wanted to prepare to board.
Prepare to board. It's true. I thought they said it more often.
The only prepared board I could find was for DeGroot and Dufresne to say it. So I was just like, I guess I didn't tell you back then. I knew.
Yeah.
And yet still, when I watched it this episode, I was like, oh, man, now it's
kind
in
of
my
ruined
face.
it somehow.
Yep.
Anyway,
but
that's
it's a great thing to say, and it's a great little soundbite for our podcast. But yes, it is Dufresne, and I think I've made it clear I really, really don't like him.
You do not.
I wanted before we start, I just actually wanted to bring up Jen, our friend on Twitter, has been talking to me about this, and I just wanted to bring up, like, she's like, I don't buy it. I don't buy that the accountant would, like, would manage to take over the ship, and that everyone would listen to him, and that he would have even, survived all these battles. And I just want to bring out, I do think that she has a really good point. Like she was like, they're really stretching. I mean, I think I'm so caught up in other stuff that I hadn't really thought about that. But I think she makes a really good point that they are kind of stretching our belief on what this guy, the authority that he could. I mean,
although it's pretty clear he didn't get that much authority. Yeah.
Right. And part of, one of the biggest parts of this episode is showing how poorly he does with it. But I think her point is valid, that he shouldn't have actually even gotten to the place where he was leading a mutiny and considered captain afterwards. And I think that's a really, really valid point.
Yeah, I agree.
So I just want to bring
that
up.
Jen has Matt Riley.
Yes, exactly. Jen, who is at this moment, I think, doing roller derby, and she's so
I'm sure
awesome.
she is. She's kicking ass and taking names somewhere.
Yep. Okay, so now let's get into the characters. So I wanted again to leave Flint for the end, because it's just a whole lot of Flint, and boy, is it good Flint this episode. So I thought we could start with Eleanor and her dangerous pirates. We've got
Ned Lowe. You are a freak show. Holy smokes.
Yep. So let's start with Meeks and Lowe. I know that's not, I just said Eleanor, but it is all part of kind of Eleanor's story here. So we've got Meeks, confronting Lowe about Eleanor when they're still on their boat on the Fancy. And Meeks is very concerned, and Lowe blows him off. And so we just get a little more window into who Ned Lowe is. And he does, I love his technique. I mean, I hate him, but I love his technique. I love how he doesn't talk directly to what he's talking to someone about. Like he talks around it and manages to make what he says like a million times scarier,
more menacing. Yeah,
right. So he doesn't I didn't think he doesn't threaten Meeks, but he's got this like, what does he say? It's an uncertain world. Best to live in the now.
Yeah.
He has a special skill for the even veiled threat, like the saying something and yet it's totally threatening at the same time.
Yeah.
So then
he's a
Meeks
villain for
goes to Eleanor, and that's an interesting thing.
It is. It's what I loved about this scene is that Hannah New is actually quite good in this scene.
Oh, she's quite good at this scene.
She's very good. Yeah. And I haven't always necessarily felt that it was a very strong performance for Eleanor. Granted, the writing was very problematic and she was probably doing the best that she could with such a role. But this is where I started to feel for Eleanor.
Yes. I love every aspect of her reaction to people from the Fancy. Like when she's talking to Meeks, and I just love that he's like help me out here, I hear you know how to depose captains and you've done it before. And right, that there are repercussions to what she's done in the past. Like this is it, and she deals with it very well. She's like, yeah, I'm not going to ever do that again, because that turned out really bad for me.
It was interesting, too, because I kind of expected from Eleanor for her to get a little haughty in that moment. That's right, I do. What what the fuck do you want to do about it?
Exactly.
But instead, she's like, in hindsight, that was a mistake.
Right.
Which is great. That's exactly the kind of growth that we've been wanting to see from Eleanor, is for her to say, in hindsight, I could have done better with such a thing.
Exactly. No, she has learned stuff. There is no question that she's learned, and she's about to learn some more stuff.
Yeah.
So we're also going to have to talk about, what is similar to season 1 Eleanor. When Bane is talking to her about he says to her, he's like, you got to walk away from this situation. Like this whole consortium thing is not working out, and you are, what does he call her? He says that my men won't support him if he doesn't do things in their interest, and it is not in their interest to protect a tyrant who is not strong enough to enforce her tyranny.
Yep. And that's pretty much what we said of her, right? Yeah.
And that really reminded me of what Hornigold said of her when he called her a tyrant in a petticoat.
A tyrant in a petticoat, yep.
Yeah, this is a more respectful thing to say, but it's essentially the same thing. And Vane, he says, he's like, if you're not strong enough to do this, stop acting like you are, like, and which is something we've kind of wanted to say to her all along. And I really like him calling her out on it. The other thing I thought was worth noting is that when he starts talking to her, she says, well, since when do you care so much about this operation? And he says, my concern is not for that. My concern is for you, which calls back to Scott. It's the same thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a little different, but yes.
It's definitely different. Of course. Vane is not Scott. What's the same is that Eleanor has a hard time understanding that people care for her, not just for what she can offer them.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not talking about Vane. I'm talking about Eleanor. Is that she's always ready for people to care more about Nassau, or about
what she can
money,
accomplish for them, right,
than about her, which kind of makes sense because she kind of chooses Nassau over her relationships.
Yeah.
So, I feel like this is showing something that's kind of broken in Eleanor, is that she, we talked about people who have ambition versus people who value relationships. She kind of has that to a fault. She can't choose relationships herself over dreams, ambitions, whatever we want to call it, but she also can't imagine that anyone else does.
Yeah.
Which makes me a little more sympathetic to her.
It does. I think you're right. It does. Yeah.
Like, okay, let's look back for a second to the very beginning of season 1. Again, there's a lot of disagreement over what Eleanor's feelings were to Max, right? But assume you're me and you're going with this assumption that there were actual mutual feelings. If you think about this Eleanor, who can't imagine that anyone cares for her, that they only care for what she can do for them, I kind of understand her not trusting Max. Like, she doesn't trust that people really love her. Again, I don't think it was beautifully done. I think it was very clumsily done. Yeah. But for me, that kind of works as like a part of Eleanor's personality, whether it's expressed as well as it could be. And I when I make these connections, like, part of me is just like, oh, I wish they had really delved into this, because it is really kind of a beautiful conflict to have. And and that same topic gets covered better with other characters. So, but I do feel like that is a possible way we could look at Eleanor, at her motivations and her behavior.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. I don't know if I necessarily agree, but I like the perspective.
Yeah, I just wanted to put it out there as an option. I'm not asserting it as the only way to read her. I just think it kind of came together in my mind this time when I was watching it and seeing the echoes of her conversation with Scott, where he was just like, how could you think that what I care about here is Nassau?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, then I like that.
I did want to bring up just like the awesome Vane moment where Captain Lawrence is saying how he was having a really bad time with the customs people. And he says, she's like, everything was in order. And he says, well, everything's in order except for your name. And then he said, I had to threaten reprisals. And then Vane says, reprisals by whom?
Yeah, whose name did you use?
Exactly.
My note for that is, Vane, you're the best.
I know. That was just...
You're welcome, he says.
Yeah, exactly. Just such fabulous delivery. I loved that so much.
Yeah, he's awesome. I really like him.
Me too. Yeah, that was just an awesome moment. Again, he continues to be like, trying to prove to Eleanor that he's really, really essential to her. Yeah. But he manages to do it in a way where he just comes out really badass at the same time. So I like that.
Yes.
Okay, so do we want to talk about then when Lo shows up? I mean, I guess we have to, but
we do. I mean, we can go over it quickly. I mean, he's crazy. He's
Yes.
just so violent and disturbed and messed up.
Yes. And
Gosh.
yes,
I was not expecting him
we've
to
never
kill our
called him
nice
by name,
little
but I would
Irishman.
like to raise a glass now to O'Malley because
Was that
even
his name,
though we've
O'Malley?
never,
He was so sweet. Raise a glass,
I know.
indeed.
So here's to you,
Aw.
O'Malley.
I'll miss your accent.
Yeah, we really like. We had your devotion. Just I don't know. I just
And
really
your
liked him.
devotion.
Yep.
And your long foppish hair.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just saying, you'll be missed, kid.
Yeah. It was pretty. I mean, of course, before that they hacked Meeks's head off with
Man.
not.
And I was starting to really like Meeks, too.
Yeah, Meeks. I mean, that's the thing. I felt like Meeks was a quartermaster that kind of reminded me of Gates. He
Yeah.
really
Yep.
cared about his crew. He seemed, like within the realm of the pirate world, a really like upstanding guy.
Yep. It did seem to be.
But the thing that's interesting here is Eleanor, of course. When after they kill Meeks, she's just doing her Eleanor thing. She's like, "Get out of my bar, get off of my island," and then she's exactly demonstrating what Vane just told her, that she's acting tough, but has nothing to back it up. And and then she looks. I mean, we talked about last episode how she looked scared. That was nothing compared to this.
You're right. Yeah. Yep. She looked good and properly terrified. And she was right. She had to be. And then she looks immediately in that moment, literally into the eyes. She looks to Vane because she has to. That's the only person that she has to look to. Yeah. And that was interesting, too, because for all of my feminism, sometimes you need some brutish guy who can just go kill a bunch of people, which is terrible.
Well, or you could use Anne Bonny. I mean, she would serve the same purpose, to be honest. But okay, she wouldn't.
You think
actually?
even
No, you
now?
need Vane. No, you need
You
Vane.
do need
No,
Vane.
no.
Like he said, like would the guy who was at who was the one at the table who said, he's like, well, whose name did you use?
Right.
I wonder if the name of Anne Bonny would have carried the same weight as Charles Vane. She's not a captain.
Right. No.
It's
You're
just
right.
different.
You're right.
Yeah.
I don't
want it to be that way. It's just
right. No, you're
the
right.
way
I
of
think I want
things.
that more than it's actually true in
Yeah.
the world of this
in
world.
this world. Yeah, in this world, she had to. Anyway, it was just interesting to me.
Yeah, and right, and she looks to him, and I remember someone saying to me that they were upset with him for not doing anything. I am not at all upset with him for not doing anything. Like, you can tell he's assessing the situation. He would have just ended up getting killed too. He was there by himself. He didn't have a crew with him. I think he definitely, staying silent was the right thing for him to do right then. And it was hard. And then at the end, we see Eleanor come and actually ask Vane for help.
Right. Yeah. Which was really quite lovely, actually. And I think it was her going out on a limb, because again, I think that she wants to believe that Vane cares for her, but I don't know if she trusts the how, or if she just trusts anybody really, but herself.
Exactly. I don't think she does trust anyone. I mean, I think that's what we really get down to.
I think that's what we're showing. Yeah, is that she believes that she has to take care of herself.
Right. And again, this is a kid
Which I can actually sympathize with that. So
exactly. Right. She was, she's just not. She has had people very loyal to her. Again, she has a hard time seeing it. And her, it seems like her most significant event in her life is, dealing with her father. Like, this is what shaped her. And,
that is true.
And what we didn't bring up is the quote unquote the asset. I think we know what it is,
yes,
but Meeks brings this up in the beginning,
and
Eleanor does use that because Vane does, she can't ask him to just swoop in and help her. She needs, she knows that world. Like, she needs to give him something that he can offer his crew.
Which was a smart move on her part. And I also liked her face too when he said, well, what is the asset? And she says, I don't know. And then again, I don't know. Like, you're going to have to trust me on this one. It's all I've got. I can't tell you anymore. I hope it's enough. Do you love me enough to do this thing? Basically.
Right.
Yeah. Ugh.
I know. Yep. Eleanor in vain. Yeah. Talk about
The
people
relationships on this show really are actually very nuanced, and I like that quite a lot.
Oh, me too. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it would be so easy to just play these two as just like,
The
like,
sexy couple.
yeah, the sexy couple, the fighting couple,
Right.
just right.
Yeah,
You know
fight,
what I mean?
fight, kiss,
Like,
kiss, I guess is what I'm thinking of.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Right.
And it's really not that. I mean,
No.
we feel it more on his side than on hers, but there is a lot more going on, and you can really feel it. Like, there is tenderness, there is vulnerability, there's all the things that make us feel something for them.
You're right. Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely right.
Alrighty, should we move on to Gen X?
Let's.
Just to remind listeners, Gen X is our very special and kind of impromptu name for Jack, Anne, and Max.
The triumvirate. Indeed. A word that Jack himself used this time. Our little triumvirate, he said.
Oh, that's true. He does use that.
Yeah.
Oh, I love him.
Jack Rackham. This is my favorite Jack Rackham we ever get in this episode. This is my Jack. This is the guy that I just love. I mean, he is so lovely in this episode. When he first looks in and he sees Anne and Max together, and Max has her hand on Anne's knee, and he's just like, "Why is your hand not cut off? Okay,
Right.
What's happening here?" And you see that confusion on his face and trying to deal with it. And then his little tete-a-tete that he has with Max in the marketplace. Max is just kind of, she's being really arrogant and haughty, actually.
She is, but she's also right. I mean, she's like,
Oh, of
dude,
course she's
what
right.
would you want me to do?
Yeah, no, she's right. But I'm just saying that she's smug as well as being
yeah.
right.
Oh, yeah, absolutely she is.
Yeah. And Jack is funny with his mimicking her accent and and it's just interesting watching him sort these things out as he's talking to her and trying to ascertain like how this changes his relationship with Anne, which is one that we realize suddenly that he has taken for granted.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
suddenly now that it's not just granted to him anymore, he has to understand this new side of his person. This
Right. And this new reality for himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love this. I mean, all I could think about this episode after we had our podcast with Lauren Sarner was what Toby Schmitz had said about Jack and Max kind of circling each other all the time.
Yes, like cats. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. I don't think he said like cats. I just thought of it like that.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's like tigers or something. Anyway.
but whatever. Yeah,
You
circling
sexy
each other.
tigers. Yes.
But yeah, I really felt like that. You know, you could really see that in action in this in this episode, that they are just they're both being so tactical and
they
emotional
really are.
at the same time. I mean, that's the thing,
Yeah.
is that they manage to both have, be tactical and do everything very deliberately, but there's
Right.
also a lot of emotional reality going on at the same time.
Yeah. Well, and in case we were curious, it's pretty clear now that Max does not have a substantial emotion towards Anne. She
No.
is saving her skin. With her skin, which is how she
Yes.
tends to save it. So, yeah.
Yes.
Man.
Definitely. I'm going to resist the urge to talk about the future. So yes, at this
Yes.
point, that is
Let's
totally true. She is saving her skin, and can you blame her? I mean, I think that's
Right.
exactly
No,
what the two
yeah.
of us said last episode. It's just like, yeah, she did. She needed to find a way to maneuver herself back into this situation
Yep.
that she was about to get pushed out of.
Yeah.
And I don't
Yeah.
blame her. So let's talk about when Jack comes into the room, when the two of them are in the room having sex. So Anne left Jack
Yep.
in the middle of the night. He was
In
asleep.
the middle of the night. Mm-hmm.
And then, this is one of my favorite Jack moments as well. I mean, it's really
This is my favorite scene. When we were saying that we each have a favorite scene from the show that kind of floored us, this is the one that just floored
so much
me.
sense. Yeah, that makes so much sense.
I come from a background where loving people has very specific rules, like who you're allowed to love and how you're allowed to love them, what that's supposed to look like, and what is a marriage supposed to look like, and fitting those things very neatly where they belong. And this blew my mind so much because, first of all, Jack did not sulk. He did not wallow. He didn't fly into a rage. He didn't do any of the things that we so often find someone do when they have a partner who cheats. But what he did was he reminded himself of who he was and what his value was. And he did it with flair that only he could have done.
Yeah, absolutely.
You asked for better captains. I give you Captain Jack Rackham.
Yes.
Which is an amazing line delivered perfectly.
It is.
And then that pause when he says, darling, I can see why you wouldn't want to tell me about this, but you must know that the only thing I have wanted for you is for you to be happy. When you're finished in here, come back to bed.
I know. It's incredible.
It's incredible. It is. I feel like surely it's so incredible because it's fictional. I mean, I can't imagine that it would be as easy and lovely as that.
Well, it wasn't easy for him, though. I mean, you see his face when he walks out. This was not easy for him.
It wasn't easy. Yeah. Yeah, that is very true. And Anne is so befuddled by the whole encounter. I don't know what she expected when he came in, but that certainly wasn't it.
Right.
Yeah. And it does somehow, this knits him and Anne closer together.
Absolutely.
So, because I guess that it's because in this moment, he's putting Anne's needs before his own, and he's loving her selflessly and saying, you need something that I can't give you. But maybe I can. I can give it to you without leaving you completely, It blows my mind.
And Anne establishes in the beginning that she's completely tied to him as well. I mean, that's
right.
The place
she said that was that thing with Max, yeah.
Right.
That she owes her life to him, right? She owes, or at least she says a part. Is that what she says?
Yeah.
Like when somebody gives you a life
saves your
that's
life,
not
you
your
owe
own.
a part of right.
Yeah.
And I never read that as like she was resenting him for it. It's just the reality.
No.
It's just her reality is that there's a part of her life that is his, and she just knows that.
Oh, she does. It reminds me of like kids with parents, like no matter how much this person messes you up,
right,
your life is owed to them, and that is a tie that you can't sever as easily as you might think, even if you hate your parents. And it's very complicated.
Right. I mean, it's very clear on both of their parts already. I mean, we're going to really go into this relationship, which is just, it's one of my favorite relationships because it is so complex and because it is so non-traditional, and yet it is so based in love and loyalty and devotion loving. And connectedness.
Yes.
Like that this scene where Anne leaves him to go have sex with someone else gives us an opportunity to have a window into how these two people are so intrinsically connected in a way that isn't about who you're having sex with. And just like you said, the level of his caring, again, this is not what he would want. This is not the situation he would want. And I believe, I mean, we didn't see him before he walked in there, and I love that they did it that way. I love that they did this as like him interrupting them and interrupting our watching them. So I thought that was just like dramatically really perfect. But when you see his face at the end, I can always look at that face of his when he's just like breathes and he's just like, okay, this was kind of the worst thing I've ever done. And I mean, not worse, like he did a bad thing, but like the hardest thing I've ever done.
Hardest, right.
And it, you know, I feel like every moment he was in there, he was just willing himself to do what he felt like he needed to do. And part of it is strategic. I mean, he was inserting himself into what was happening there by doing this, but again, like you said, not selfishly. It was just, you know, he needed to figure out a way to not be outside of her life because
to maintain their partnership.
Right, but he did it in a way that serves her. So like he asserted his need to not lose her, but in a way that completely serves her needs. Like you said, you already said that. Sorry, but
no, it's okay.
I'm just so moved
repeating.
by it. It's hard for me not to talk about this scene. I mean, it is very beautiful.
Yeah, I'm very moved by the scene. That's a good scene. Like I watched the whole scene again, knowing it was coming, but not realizing that we had gotten there already. I didn't realize it was going to be in this episode. But I watched this whole scene with my hand over my mouth, just you know,
which is so appropriate.
Yeah.
I've seen it so many times, and every time it moves me to no end. I mean, really,
that's good to know.
I kind of defy anyone to not love Jack after this.
Right? That's how I feel. Yeah, like I defy you to not love Jack after this. Yeah, I agree.
Yes, he's spectacular, and right, he's got everything I love. I mean, he's not doing this just like as like a, you know, like just like overspilling emotion. I mean, he is thinking. He's being strategic, but he's being strategic and loving.
Like, when he comes in, he says, some people look at this kind of problem and they think it's not, you know, you can't solve a problem like this, but really it just takes a certain perspective. Or he says something along those lines.
Right.
And he's right. And he might even say, it just takes a certain, I don't know, but he basically says, because I am who I am, I'm going to be able to make something of this that is going to work for all of us, basically, in a way that no other person could. And he's absolutely right. No other person could make it work the way he is going to.
Did you notice Max's face? Like this last time I watched, I really paid attention. Usually I'm just paying all of my attention to
I don't think
Toby
I did,
Schmitz.
because I was looking, basically Toby Schmitz had my full attention. And also Anne, because my husband pointed out actually that she is unmasked now.
Yeah,
she doesn't have her hat anymore, and we see so much of her face, and we've never seen this much of her face.
Yep. Yes,
and
so
Clara
much
Padgett
emotion.
is really bringing this new subtlety and femininity and loveliness to Anne that we haven't seen yet. And I'm thinking of this quote that I think it's from like a children's storybook Bible actually, but it says they were lovely because he loved them, and it's talking about like God and his people. And but that's how I feel about Anne in the scene, is like she is being loved in all of these ways, even if it's not like accurate from Max, even if it's not sincere from Max. She is having these emotional needs met in a way that she never has before, and it is revealing something new about her, and it's changing her person.
Wow, I love that. Okay, that's super cool. It's like a really short scene, but there's just so much going on.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's really moving.
The thing I wanted to say about Max was just I did make a point of paying attention to her this time, and you know, in the beginning she's in shock. I mean, obviously, who would
that's what I remember. It's like the stunned face is all I remember.
Right.
Yeah, and I also remember thinking that she looks really great naked. But go ahead.
Yeah, she does look really good in that corset.
Yes. Anyway,
But if you watch her as the scene progresses, like you keep going from Jack talking and him doing what he's doing. I love how he pours the drink and then he's, you know, kind of downs it at the end. Yeah. But if you watch Max, she's like, she goes from shock to kind of going, and I feel like you see her almost like, you know, just tiny bit, but she's almost like physically going towards him. I don't know if it's just the intensity of the way she's looking, but
I need to watch that again.
yeah, she's like, oh, this works for me. You know what I mean? Like he really, because he's kind of speaking to both of them at the same time. He's speaking to what Anne needs emotionally. He's speaking to what Max needs strategically, because Anne needs his partnership emotionally and through loyalty and all that. Max needs his partnership. She needs an equal. She needs someone that she can strategize with. She
needs an equal.
Because what Max needs, I mean, we saw what happened to her in season 1. Max needs security. That's what Max needs. And he's offering that to her as well. He's true. Saying, you know, she said to Eleanor, I have allies now, but now he's codifying it.
Yeah.
And that's what she needs.
Yep. And I think that we're back to the attraction that's between Max and Jack, which has to do with that, with the wits, with the strategy, with the
smart meet smart.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Boy, there's a lot going on.
Let's just go watch that episode. Let's go watch that scene again. It's really good.
And it's funny because my good friend from Common Room Radio, Sarah Cade, actually walked in the room when we were watching this scene for the first time. Or I guess it was the next day, or it was maybe a previous episode where the three of them were in bed. But I turned to Sarah and said, this is actually very complicated. And she was like, looks like 2 chicks and a dude. How complicated can it be? But really, I mean, for something that's like a Stars show threesome, it is not what you would expect. It is It is. It's not nuanced.
the expectation you would have in kind of a pornographic way of like a man and 2 women. Again, I guess we're preempting a little bit that people haven't seen them together, but it's okay. It's okay. They'll be
true.
together.
Right.
It's all good.
Okay, Daphne. Thank you. I thought I was going to get a talking to there for a second.
Right. There's just so much emotion going on there, and it's fine to say this is going to be something that I love in season 2 is this. What did he call it? He called them a trifecta. He called them a triumvirate. What did he call them?
Triumvirate.
Yeah. I just feel like their 3-person relationship just takes us in all sorts of interesting places. Okay, are we ready to move on to Flint?
Oh my God.
I've been super restrained.
This could be the longest episode ever. Okay. Yep.
I have been super restrained up until now. I mean, again, don't get me wrong. The Jack and the Jan X stuff.
The Jan X stuff is really great.
Makes me super, super happy.
Okay.
But we need to talk about my man Flint now.
Oh, sure. Your man Flint. Was he in this episode? I don't know.
So I basically am grouping everyone together. I'm grouping together Flint and in the past with Thomas and in the present with Silver. And, we have to talk about Dufresne a little bit too, obviously.
Right.
But, I'm not putting him in the heading because I hate him.
Fair.
Yeah, I'm not holding back. I think I already decided not to hold back last episode. So I wanted to start with where we start, which is we hear Thomas's voice. So this is nice. This is interesting because we actually have an intersection of our past reality and our present 1715 reality.
Yes.
We hear Thomas's voice, and this seems like kind of like edited version of Genesis, but it is, the feeling of Genesis, obviously. And I love that. Like he talks about,
I'm pretty sure it's direct quote.
Is it all? Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah. But just like,
or at least it didn't occur to me that it wasn't, but
right. Yeah. It's edited in that it's not like the whole creation.
That's
part.
True. Yeah. Obviously. Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
It's the parts that are pirate relevant.
Yeah, I suppose so.
But what I like about there are 2 points I wanted to make. I mean, the light, obviously, sea, obviously. The parts that I like about it is that when he's talking about God forming man, the men we're looking at are pirates. Oh. And he talks about, that God breathed life into the pirates, and that's how why they. I mean, into the pirates. Sorry, that's not what it says.
That's okay. Breathe life into the
I believe
dust.
the Bible doesn't say that God breathed life into pirates, but pirates are men, and that's the point.
Therefore, yeah, that is the point.
Right, and that he's quoting the part where it says that God breathed life into them, and that's why they have souls. And our example of men are pirates, which, for me was just reinforcing this whole idea. These are men. These are people. But the part that of course is most stark in this is then he says, I read about this a little bit. Like, this is the one part where it says that God said that something was not good. Everything else is good, and the one thing that is not good is man being alone.
For man to be alone.
And the person that we're looking at, is Flint being alone. He is so solitary. He's always been kind of a man alone, but he's the most alone he's ever been right then at that moment when he's been cast out from his crew. And he's lost Miranda, and he is alone. But then we go to the past, and we see that this was actually Thomas talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
And his point in talking about it was to get to what he says to McGraw. Sorry, I'm going to confuse the Flint and McGraw to you. What he says to James McGraw is, everyone needs a partner.
Right.
And he says, you are the partner that was given to me. And then they talk about, their different views of the future of Nassau as of 1705.
Right.
And we go a little bit into this same thing that was happening in the last episode, where we see Thomas as the dreamer and we see James as the realist.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And he even says that I think he says like that his job is to manage Thomas's expectations.
Yes.
And I love everything about this conversation, but I just wanted to bring up a few points about it and, jump in whenever is that Thomas gets Flint to stop talking about the pirates. And I liked that too. Like, like James just keeps saying the pirates. And Thomas is like, the pirates are the cause. I mean, sorry, skip that. Uh-huh. Thomas says the pirates are the symptom, not the cause.
Yes.
And that the root cause is stuff from civilization. He doesn't say civilization, but he says graft, incompetence, and neglect. And he cites the governors, the managers, the lords. He says these are the people who are creating the problem.
Yes. Okay.
So he doesn't say civilization. That's my
that's
what I take
excellent,
from it.
Insightful. Yes. No, you're right.
And then Flint, McGraw, I keep doing this. McGraw is, he's so kind of adorably skeptical, but this is really, this, it's just this beautifully laid out conversation where it's just like dreamer, skeptic, we just keep going back and forth. And then Thomas, asks McGraw to say, what would you need? Like, what would you want? If you could have anything, what would you want to make New Providence Island into not a pirate haven? And James McGraw lays out exactly what James Flint is trying to build. But he lays it out in a way where he's saying, well, that would just be nuts for us to be able to do all of that.
Exactly.
You would need this and this and this and this and this. And isn't that crazy? And Thomas's response was like, really? Only 3 ships?
Only 3 ships, are you sure?
That seems totally doable.
Oh.
And
he has that great line about strange partners right after that I really like. Yeah.
He does. Would you mind if I,
Please do, because all I wrote down was strange partners. So please.
Okay. So yeah, this is one of my favorite. This episode really does have so many favorite moments for me.
Yeah.
So he says to him after, Thomas has been so dreamer, like.
Right.
Sorry, a little Freudian slip there.
Been so dreamy. I just got it. That's hysterical. Anyway, go ahead.
Alrighty. After Thomas is being a big dreamer and Flint is being a big skeptic, James says, he says that they need partners, and he says he needs a partner. He says, I'm that person, the partner, despite the fact that we view the world very differently. And then Thomas says, because of it. And I love him for it. And he says, strange pairs, Lieutenant, they can achieve the most unexpected things.
Yeah.
And we could talk about that, but what I really want to talk about is the cut that then happens to 1715.
Oh, uh-huh.
So let me just quickly, and then we can go back to James and Thomas. But the thing that is so striking to me is that the minute he says that, we cut back to 1715 to James still sitting, Flint, now I can call him Flint again.
Right, Flint.
Flint's sitting there, and you think he's still alone, but he's looking at someone. And then we pan over and we see who he's looking at, and he is looking at Silver.
Yep. Here's our new strange partnership. Buckle up, y'all.
I know. I love that. I just thought it was just like, it's such a beautiful scene in and of itself. Yeah. And then this transition says everything we need to know.
Yeah. Well, and it makes sense too, because it helps give us an emotional reason why Flint would allow Silver in, you know, because yes, he's impressed by this idea that Silver has saved his own skin so many times. But this is that moment where you see that it's something. Yeah, it's this emotional pull from the past where he's like, wait, I once learned something from a great man.
Yep.
And I should hang on to that now. Yeah.
It also gives us a little bit of context for why, you know, part of why. I mean, Flint has been resistant to Silver because, you know, they are so different. Yes. You know, there is that. Like, difference does make people, you know, want to be away from each other. But also we have to remember, we know what happens to Thomas. Mm-hmm. We know that Thomas died. We know that there were tragic circumstances. Like, that much we know from season 1. So we know, I think, you know, we can say now that we know that that James and Thomas had a partnership. Mm-hmm. And we know that the last time that we know of that he had, you know, a real partnership, well, actually, the 2 times. I mean, there's 2 times that he's had real partnerships that have ended in tragedy. Yeah. One is Thomas, and we don't know the details. Right. And the other one is Gates, and we do know those details.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we can, I mean, I just feel like it's, you know, this is, they're pointing us in this direction, and we will see in this episode, Flint has, like the last episode, I think Silver finally did it. He finally convinced Flint that he is a potential partner for him. Mm-hmm. And now we're seeing Flint's, you know, he's remembering what Thomas had to say about partners, and while looking at Silver, like, this is what's going on. That's how I see the flashbacks, is like, this is what's going on in Flint's mind. Right. This is what he's thinking about.
Yep. Yeah, I like it.
I like it too. I really, really like it. I also love all the details. So we can move on, unless you wanted to talk more about this first Flint and, I mean, sorry, I'm just never going to get this right. This first James and Thomas conversation.
No, I don't think so. I think that's all I've got.
Okay. So we can talk about Flint and Silver's conversation, because, you know, coming right off of this, now Flint's really has some questions for Silver. Right. And I feel like this set it up so that we are looking at this as Flint trying to understand Silver as a potential partner. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, I think this was interesting. He says to him, you can walk away from this. Like, you said you want to help me regain my captaincy, but you don't need to do this. Yeah. You know, he wants to know why. And Silver, you know, Silver said something that's similar to what he's been saying. I mean, obviously, we know Silver wants that gold. Right. But I like that he gives us more this time. We understand a little bit of who Silver is and why he wants this gold. And I love all the stuff he says. I love that he says, like, this is my opportunity. Like, I can do one big prize and then I can walk away.
I love how he says, "I don't want to be a pirate." And you're like, "Sorry,
Right.
Long John Silver, that ship has sailed, son." Ha! Ship joke.
That's true. The irony of that,
Ba-boom-ching.
knowing what we know about him. I totally
Yeah.
didn't think about that.
Oh,
I'm so caught
really?
up in I'm just so caught up in the moment of this that's
Yeah.
so true. That is
I
a moment where I
cackled a
have
little
not,
bit. I don't want to be
Yeah.
a pirate. I was like, "Ha ha!"
that's
Too
so
late.
funny.
That's funny.
That is so true. Okay, I'll cackle now.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess I was always so caught up in like the two of them and their faces and their motivations and the thing that the connection I make with it is that he says, basically I want to he's basically saying I would like to get this big prize and walk away from the sea.
Mm-hmm.
And who have we heard say that before?
My heart just broke to see that. My head dropped. Aw, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this is an interesting thing. Like they're so different. Their motivations are so different. But
Yes.
we just found out that there's an essential core that actually isn't that different.
Yeah. No, I guess
I
you're
mean,
right.
Silver
I
wants
didn't
it
think
just
of
for
that.
himself, and
Right,
Flint
yeah.
wants it for his whole community. That's
Right.
the big difference.
That is the big difference. Yeah. That's the big difference. Yes.
But they share a wanting to walk away from piracy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. And I don't know. I feel like that might be the moment that that sold Flint on him for real. We
Right.
had all the stuff that happened last episode, but like Silver always says, like as long as our interests are aligned, you're good with me, or I'm good for you, or whatever whatever he's saying. That we're good. And this was actually the thing he needed to say that says to Flint, you know what? This is a guy I can partner with. Like he's someone who wants to buy something larger than alcohol and prostitutes.
Yeah. That's a good point, Daphne. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, this is when the shift starts happening. I feel like with Silver, we've seen he's smart. We've seen his powers of persuasion, but this is we just got a window into his motivations. And this, in a way, this episode is the episode of windows into the motivations and emotions of our characters that we hadn't seen up until now.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, that's right.
Although I do just like when he's like, I want freedom. When he says, I want freedom, and he's like, I want freedom. I want freedom from Randall. I want freedom from the sea. I want freedom from you. I would like to get away from you.
Yep. Fair enough. That's fair.
Because you got to love Silver for always being honest about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit. I wanted to then go into Silver's plan, because Flint says to him, he's like, okay, I know how in 2 days I'm going to be captain of the ship again.
So crazy and awesome. Yeah.
I know. We're not there yet. Hold
I know,
on
but
to that.
you-
Hold on
you
to that
said it.
thought.
Okay.
I know. I did say it. But he did say it here. And then he says to Silver, he's like, all right, how are you going to get yourself back into this crew?
Right. And I have to say, when he first comes up there and starts doing his little recitation, both times I've just been like, Silver, what are you doing?
Yep. Which is
And I
exactly how Flint reacted to it.
And Flint is flippin' adorable when he comes up to him. It's just so funny when he's like, what was that? Genuinely amused.
I know. And Silver's like, I'm winning my way back onto the crew. And what does Flint say at the end?
He's like, is
like,
that what you're doing?
exactly. And then after Silver gets beat up the first time, he's like,
Yep.
well, good luck with whatever this is you're doing.
Right. Yep.
And-
so funny.
And Silver proves him wrong. Silver is
Yep,
so
he
smart.
gets there. Eventually he gets there.
So smart.
Yep. Takes a beating for
And we
it, but he
find
gets
out
there.
that Silver was an orphan. Like we get some interesting details about him, because he talks about in the
Some backstory.
This
Yep.
is a technique he learned from another kid in the orphanage who was in way worse shape than he is. We see as always Silver just being so smart. Just you could just see that man thinking. He sees the whole thing with Randall spitting, and I don't like him, and he's like, that's it.
Yeah.
Light bulb. I know what I'm doing now, and he does it. He's so cool. And also I just want to bring up, my love also for Joshua. We get to see Joshua here. This is our this is our spiky teeth pirate, and he's the one who's like, the first time, everyone's punching Silver and he just takes it, and the second time this one guy, he's like, oh, I'm just gonna do this too, I'm gonna punch him, and then Joshua's like, you fucked the dairy goat.
Yep.
Yes, thank you, Joshua. Standing up for the dairy goat. Joshua is our dairy goat hero.
Indeed.
and it all plays out, and I love it. It's just like everyone starts fighting just the way Silver wanted them to.
Just how he wanted it. Yep.
And Silver's on the ground because he just took some really serious punches from some really strong guys. Mm-hmm. And he looks up at Flint, and Flint's just sitting in that hammock, and he smiles and he nods to him, and he's like, respect. I mean, that was the moment when Flint's just like, dude, I totally recognize that you just did what you said you were going to do. Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's also one of my favorite gifts. That smile of Flint's is just too much for me. Yep. I love it so much. Mm-hmm. Yes. I think pretty much anyone who truly loves Flint really just wants him to look at them and nod and smile like that.
That's fair.
Not gonna lie.
I'll take it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now I would like to go back to 1705, and we have the scene where James McGraw is sitting with Admiral Hennessy in a tavern.
Yeah.
And this is, it's an interesting scene, but I wanted to bring up first, like, James McGraw, who we know, was a carpenter's son, is sitting with the Admiral. Like, they are having drinks or dinner. I didn't notice what but they're like,
right, yeah.
Everyone else is in the tavern. He's the guy who's like hanging out with the Admiral.
Good call. So
I think that's really significant. I mean, yes. And we know that this Admiral assigned him to a very important very important liaison job. So we know that, but I really liked that they're just like, yes, they are having a meeting about that, but there is a real connection with these two, obviously. Like, they joke about, about rich ideological guys, and they obviously, have a rapport.
Yes.
We'll learn more about them. But Admiral Hennessy is troubled because James calls Thomas Hamilton Thomas, which, I just want to remind everyone, we talked about this last season when Flint called Gates Hal, like, people do not call each other by their first names back then.
Right. Yeah.
This is just not a thing you do. And Flint makes a point of saying that Thomas Hamilton insists on this kind of familiarity.
Right.
He talks about the salons that there are all these people, we're understanding, like, Thomas, if we didn't understand already, Thomas is a bit of a radical.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And this is really interesting. And but what's most interesting about this scene for me is after the Admiral, who seems a bit disapproving, he walks away, and then we have the other officers bait James.
Yes. And they nail it too. They sure get him.
Oh, yep. Yes. And
get that nice twitch in the cheek there. Yeah, I saw that. Toby Stevens. You know what you're doing, actor man.
Yeah, he's good at that acting job.
He's pretty good at that acting thing. He should do that for a living, maybe.
So, like,
you're wasted on piracy,
right? Maybe we should offer him a pardon, and then he could be an actor.
Oh, man.
So the two things that happen in this, most officers, if I remember correctly, of that period would have been younger sons of not of noble or higher class families. Like, Thomas made a point of saying that James, really has rised up in the ranks, especially for someone from more simple background. Mm-hmm. And they are definitely, they're playing that. The one officer who's really doing this, he's just like, yeah, it's pretty good for someone of your standing. That's right. That's pretty great for you that you could pretend you're a gentleman and everything. Mm-hmm. And then he says the thing about, if you're really good at this, maybe Hamilton will let you fuck his wife. And then James just loses it.
He does. Yep.
So we learned this thing. This is not something we've really seen. We've seen that that Flint can be impassioned to the point of kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But this is This is the first moment we've really seen him like totally lose control of himself.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we know that past James,
there's the Flint we know, right?
Right. Yeah. Past James really can lose his shit.
Yeah.
And in a way that's not good for his goals.
No.
And then he has the conversation with Hennessy where Hennessy says, what does he say about him? He says that you have a thing that arises with you with passion. And he says that partly that's a thing that makes you a good commander, but yours is different. It's wilder. And I don't know what you're capable, and I don't think you know what you're capable of if you were really pushed.
Yep. Wilder and darker. Yeah.
Right. But the interesting thing for me about this is, again, the juxtaposition with 1715, because we go from that to Flint being so calm and
so calculated.
And so deliberate and so patient. Right?
Yes.
He sets up this thing with Dufresne in the beginning
and the whole thing is masterful. I mean, it's masterful.
Yep.
It's frightening.
And I just wanted to call back to like when he was trying to take the cannons from Bryson. Like, remember when he explains to Billy how he needs to think what Bryson might be thinking?
Yes.
He just needs to think what Bryson might be thinking, what he's thinking. Like,
right.
This is the tactical thinker. And
man,
I just feel like it was really interesting, this juxtaposition of 10 years ago, James McGraw could lose it that quickly to the point of just like a bar brawl. And then we see Flint now when he's focused. Mm-hmm. He's focused, he's deliberate, he's patient, he's going to get what he needs. And he's not, we just see a maturity that he obviously didn't have 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's talk about how he gets his ship back. I really like this part.
Yes, it's amazing. It's magnificent is what it is.
It is magnificent. And even like the first part when he's talking to Dufresne like seems so like wonderful and diabolical, but that's actually nothing. I mean, he's just he uses various techniques, honest and dishonest. The honesty talking about Gates. The dishonesty is he uses flattery on Dufresne, which I don't think he at all intends.
So you think everything he says about Gates is honest then? Just deliberate?
I do. I 100% believe. Oh, I don't know if he's being honest about the flattery part is where he says that Gates like cared about Dufresne and all of that. I don't know if whatever. I don't really care how Gates felt about Dufresne, to be honest. I do believe that Flint is the person who's most torn up about Gates's death of everyone on that ship. I totally buy that. I mean, we saw what happened.
Yes.
We saw how he felt and how he reacted. I do. I mean, he did kill Gates, but I do believe he's also the person who most feels Gates's loss.
Yeah. So it's like he was telling the truth, but that's coincidental.
See, I think he's doing that thing where like the best lies are whatever they say. Like, what is that saying? That the best lies are some very high percent truth,
are closest to the truth. Yeah,
right, exactly. And I think we have seen and we will see Flint use that very well. I mean, it's the same. It's the same with the route that he tells him to take. He tells him not to take a route that he should not take.
Yeah,
he did not lie there. He told him not to take the route that was the wrong route to take strategically, knowing that Dufresne and de Groot would be like, we don't trust this guy. Of course he's telling us not to take the thing we should take.
Yeah.
And so, of course, they do take it. And it all plays out exactly.
Gosh, it sure does.
That's the thing. It plays out exactly the way Flint warned Dufresne it would play out.
Yeah. Yep. And let me ask you this. What do you think was the left out, because Flint asked that question, like when they're there and they're starting to take the ship, and
Yep.
Flint's telling to Silver, like, this is the most dangerous part, and he says they don't fear guns, they don't fear swords, they don't even fear death, and Silver says, so what do they fear?
I cannot unlock this. If anyone has an idea, please tell us, because I would love to know what it is. Do you have an idea, Liz? I do not. I honestly do not.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I had two ideas. One of them, like the badass idea that I just wanted him to say, me. They fear me. Meaning,
Well, okay. Yes,
but
that's what I want it to be,
that's
but I
what
don't
you
think
want.
that's what it is.
But
Yeah, I don't think that's what
it
it is.
is in a way. I think what he's saying is that they fear the reputation that you have built for yourself.
Yes, that's totally
That's
works.
what I think he was saying.
Yes, that
And so,
does totally
in a
work.
way, is me. And that's kind of like that. But that was that boon to his self-esteem that he needed. Does that make
Right.
sense?
No, it does. Yeah, I don't.
Maybe he
I
didn't
don't. I
even need
honestly
it,
don't
but
have
it was
a definitive
well-timed.
thing. That totally works for me, and
Yeah.
I'm just not sure. And that's not the part. I mean, it is a puzzle, and I wrote that down, and I was like, yeah, I don't know what he's trying. What did he not say? Because it wasn't even like he was interrupted. Like he
No,
just let that hang
he
there.
Just let it hang. Yeah.
Yep. He
Come
totally
on,
did.
Jimmy. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know, honestly. What I love about this conversation is a few things. I just love the mechanics of it, because I love strategy. Like the whole discussion about when to raise the black, I love that. The thing about, what he was saying about how it being the most dangerous part, because that other captain, he's always in the mind. He's inserting himself into the mind of other people constantly. And he's in the mind of that other captain thinking all the thoughts, and he's explaining to it. But the thing I love most about this part is that this is the first time we've had a window into Flint's mind.
Yeah.
Like he's explaining, like honestly explaining. I mean, that's the other beautiful thing. The beautiful thing is he's talking to Silver finally as a partner, as an equal, as someone who deserves to hear what actually happens in the mind of James Flint. Nobody has had this yet. Nobody has had a window into his mind that he offered them. They might be able to figure
You don't think
stuff
Gates
out.
did?
Nope, I do not.
Interesting.
I think he tried at the last minute. I mean, I think that thing when he called him Hal was him trying to do.
Yeah.
I don't think
Too little, too late, though.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever let anyone in. He never explains himself. Like there was, I forget. Like sometime in season 1, we were talking about some situation. I was like, yeah, as if Flint would actually like explain what he's doing.
Right.
Like,
this is that's true. Didn't trust anybody. Didn't trust the men.
Really, honestly, like with Billy, he gave snippets, but snippets that served him. Like he's just sitting there talking about what he's watching and what he's letting what he was planning unravel and happen in front of him, but he's actually explaining it to Silver.
Huh.
And
do you think he's trying to inspire the same sort of things in Silver as were inspired in him by Hamilton?
Possibly. We will explore that.
Okay.
We'll explore that. To be honest, I think that he might have just reached a point now where like he might just need a partner.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's sitting there remembering these really interesting exchanges.
Yeah.
These eye-opening exchanges he had with Thomas Hamilton. And it might just be like we're seeing him be, alone and lonely and he might just really need this. I don't know. I'm noting that it's happening. I'm not sure why it's happening yet.
Yeah. Because some of it also seems like on the complete opposite end of that. Some of it just seems like he's showing off too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh no, there's definitely a part of that. But again, he never did that either. Like he
true.
always just existed within his own shell.
Yes.
And doing this stuff. We've seen him do so many things, but he was always doing it within his own shell and not opening up. And again, this isn't opening up emotionally, but for him, I feel like even, opening up strategically is also a significant thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree.
So, and that's, it's just so cool. Okay, so the next thing that really I love is that the merchant captain, when Dufresne is doing his his tough captain act, and he says, "Are you him?"
Yep.
And this is our whole thing about pirates and storytelling and power and
reputations.
Right. Dufresne never earned that. He never earned the thing that he's trying to do, and that's why it goes bad for him.
Yep.
It serves him right.
This is why they passed down the name Dread Pirate Wesley.
Exactly. I know.
Pirate Roberts. No one's going to surrender to Dread Pirate
about that?
I do every time.
Right.
Every time I think about
love
this
that,
bride.
and it's
no
so
one would
true.
surrender to
Yes.
Dread Pirate Wesley.
Yep.
Very
totally.
true. Dread Pirate Dufresne.
Right.
No. Don't care.
Right. Well, the right answer for Dufresne to have said then is he says, "Are you him?" would have been to say yes, and then he would have done what Wesley did in Princess Bride. Mm-hmm. So things go bad, and then I adore. Okay, that's it. We're there. We're at the moment that I love most of all in all of television.
Yep.
Okay.
It's damned sexy.
I'm going to describe
Go
it.
ahead. Yeah, do it.
So I just every single time the power of this moment is so strong to me. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Dufresne's freaking out.
Yep.
Because he never should have been pirate. Jen, here you go. He never should have been pirate.
You're right, Jen.
He's freaking out. He runs back to the boat. He's like trying to tell DeGroot to do stuff, and DeGroot's like, "You have lost the day."
Yeah.
He says, "Say the order." And then Logan, of all the people, Logan are like, "I don't want to listen to you, Flint guy."
Yeah.
Says, "Why are we waiting?" And DeGroot says, "Because he's in charge," meaning Dufresne.
Right.
And then Logan says, "No one's in charge."
Yeah.
And he's right.
He is right.
And at that moment, Flint just steps right in and starts telling them what to do.
Yep. And everybody, they don't want to, but damned if this guy doesn't know the right thing to do, and we better just do it. Oh,
exactly.
Gosh, it's sexy. It's really good.
You know what? Yes, it is. And you know what? He may have questionable morals, and we know this, but this man is nothing if not a captain.
Yeah, he is a captain. You're absolutely right.
And that was it. He knew he was going to get it back.
Yep.
And he got it back. And I just love how it was done. I mean, I wish I had better words to explain how much I love this and why.
Yeah.
But we're just going to have to go with, I love this so much. It's so great.
Yep.
And you know what? You know who feels the same way as me?
Who's that?
Silver.
Yep. Silver's pretty impressed, isn't he?
Oh my goodness. The way, I mean, I seriously,
Silver's I picked a good horse.
Exactly. The way Silver
right
is looking
horse.
at Flint is all of the emotions that I'm feeling right then. He is expressing them in his face.
Mm-hmm. All of them, huh?
Yeah, it's just I wish I had better words. I really do.
Yeah.
I'm at a loss for the words that warrant the awesomeness of this moment in this show. And then he's taking back his ship. Gun crews at the ready. Love that.
Yep.
And it takes them a minute, like you said. It takes them a minute, and then they just go into it. And he's right. He says, "You need to burn this ship. If this ship, if a single person survives, then
that's it.
We
no one
will
will surrender again. Yeah, we'll be done for. There'll be nothing left. Yeah,
exactly.
And
he's right. So right. And then we see him walking through the crew. Another one of my favorite gifts. Mm-hmm. We see him walking through the crew, and they're all making way for him. And the only thing I ever think then, other than you're a badass, is you're alone.
Oh, yep.
I mean, that's what it is. To be a captain like him is to be a badass.
Yeah.
And to be alone. Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's good. It's good stuff. You're right.
There is no joy in this show that's never not bittersweet. Bittersweet is what you get. That is joyous as you get in this show.
Dark chocolate, y'all.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I love this show for it because bittersweet is my flavor. I so love it. I always want my joy to be tinged with a little bit of sadness. It's just the best.
Yep.
So then at the end I like the little bit of irony that at the end we have one episode later, we have Dufresne asking Flint how a vote went.
Oh, that's right. Which was that was a sweet little exchange actually between them. I thought.
I like that you think it's sweet.
Oh, do you not think so?
Well, I just, no, it is. I mean,
Well,
it is.
I guess by sweet, I mean
sweet
like
as
it's as sincere as we've seen these two together. They're
Yes.
being their most honest now.
Absolutely, it is as sweet as an exchange can go when one person is accusing the other one of diabolically,
Basically.
diabolically making a situation where lots of people die.
Yeah. Well, I think Dufresne just wanted to know, when he says like, what was the vote close?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that part. Yes, that part was kind of
That's
sweet.
what I
It
was
was the
talking
part
about.
afterwards when he starts
Yeah,
to
that part
realize
wasn't sweet anymore.
Yeah. But great.
But great. Yeah, but great.
Because he's like, oh man, and Flint does not answer him. He said, basically, now I'm thinking you orchestrated all this.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing he says, he's like, is it possible for a man to do all of this to get to this moment?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you wanted to be captain.
Yeah.
That is what it is to be captain.
That's what it
like,
takes. Mm-hmm.
He wanted to take that ship. People died. Like, it's not, it's just like,
Ooh.
you don't get to be a pirate captain without making choices where people die.
Yeah.
So, yes, it is possible for a man to do that. That's what a captain does.
It's what a good captain does. Yeah.
Right.
Or
right.
I don't even know if good is the right word, but like
right.
strong,
Effective.
capable, effective. Effective is the word, I think. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then the last moment is that Flint finds his new coat. He finds his new jacket that was just on the wall.
That's a nice coat, right? I think my note was "Damn, son." I think.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And when he lost his last coat was when he fell in the water.
Oh no, I didn't realize.
When in the fight at the end of the last season, he lost his coat, and so he's captain again. He needs a coat again.
Oh man, good call,
and,
Daphne.
Yes.
Good call.
Oh, and yes, and
take
quite
back
the coat.
up the mantle. Mm-hmm. Wow, I like that.
Yeah, I like it too. And for me, it felt like he was putting his armor back on, like he was captain again.
Yep.
He was shouldering. He was he was taking on all that is involved in that again.
Exactly. Yep, I completely agree.
Ready to guns! Full complement!
All right. Well, now let's explore the theme or I guess how we're doing it now, our thesis statements of the episode. Mm-hmm. What do you think, Daphne?
Okay, well, for me, the thesis statement is Thomas Hamilton's. It is when he says, "Strange pairs, Lieutenant, they can achieve the most unexpected things."
I have to agree. I think that's right. I'm sorry. I hate to be boring, but I'm pretty sure that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And really that whole speech, and of course it's how they start the thing, but this idea that it is not good for man to be alone is all over this thing. I mean,
yes, absolutely.
It is not good for man to be alone. Yep. Agreed.
So we are in agreement. Yes.
Yep.
And right.
Yep.
And this relates to the past and to Flint's present as well. Mm-hmm. Without getting spoilery, strange pairs.
Yeah.
They can do amazing things.
Agreed. Man.
So we will investigate that further. So we this week we won't be bringing up any thesis statements by listeners because we just introduced this idea in real time. But next week, we will be asking. We will have asked. Sorry, it's hard for me to get my past and present.
It's hard
with when we record and when we
the
when the episode drops.
timey-wimey podcasting thing is a little bit crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're hearing this, we will have heard hopefully from you all what your thesis statements were, and when we do episode 11. we will talk about people who agreed with us.
Yeah.
And we can't wait. We really can't wait to hear what everyone has to say.
Well, then that is going to wrap us up for this week. I'm looking forward to diving in again next week with you, Daphne. And until then, from Common Room Radio, I am Liz Stevens.
And I'm Daphne Alu.
Fathoms Deep is a Common Room Radio production. For more information and access to other programs, please visit us at commonroomradio.com. To show your support, pledges of as little as $1 a month can be made to patreon.com/commonroomradio. Join the conversation by using the hashtag FathomsDeep and follow us on Twitter at BlackSalesCast. We ask that you keep your tweets respectful and positive, and please avoid spoilers. If you have more to say, we want to hear it in all its spoiler glory. Email us at podcast@commonroomradio.com with Fathoms Deep in the subject line. Thanks for listening.